Richter says, tried to move on and find somebody new, but found another narc. It's crazy how many narcissists there are out there. Yes. And I think most people tend to find, especially if they're dating people out of a place of loneliness, or if they're dating, you know, if they haven't addressed or even become aware of the vulnerabilities that the last narcissist exploited within them, then it's really easy to crash into another narcissist, but the exact opposite type. So I found that as well. I had two covert narcissists pretty much back to back in a 5-year span of time. And then I would go from avoiding kind of the Prince Charming guys, and I was dating guys that were more doing the opposite. Like, they were kind of jerky. And I guess in my mind, the thought process was, well, at least I kind of know what I'm getting, versus a guy that's incredibly charming, but that turns out to be incredibly destructive. So that was my way, as of course, subconsciously, like that was my way of trying to stay safe and to try to pick people that weren't going to hurt me. But I found myself just continually finding problematic person after problematic person. And I didn't realize, like, why, how, and why is this happening? And, when you encounter enough narcissists and sociopaths almost back to back, it can be incredibly unnerving and really discouraging to kind of think, is everybody out there like this? Like, where did all of the normal people go? And what on earth is going on? Like, why are there so many of them? And kind of what am I missing? So, but I can just kind of speak from my experience. The part that I was missing was I had these unaddressed vulnerabilities, which I call empty buckets. I had been walking around feeling very unloved and very unimportant for a very long time. And there was a wide variety of reasons for that, but not only in my childhood, but in my adult life as well. I married a guy that was in the military. We'd been moving around every 18 to 24 months. And so it got to the point where I really didn't know anybody. I was moving from city to city. And once we got a divorce, it was sort of like I looked around and I had no friends. I had no support system. It was just me. And I didn't have a place that felt like home anymore. And I was incredibly lonely, but that had been my way of life for, a handful of years. So it didn't register as something wrong or different or that needed to be addressed. It was my new normal. And so I was really prone and susceptible to all of the love bombing with these different, emotional manipulators. That was my weak point. It took me a while to realize that was what was going on. Once I was able to start addressing that, those people stopped coming into my life. But it took a while for me, to kind of make those connections. So that's the best way to do it. If you can get to that place where you have a decent support system in place, you've got friends, you've got hobbies, you're feeling safe and secure and stable in your own life. And then that way, when you're dating people, it's coming from a place of, I really want them in my life. I don't need them in my life. They're the icing on the cake. They're not the whole cake. And when you're coming from that mindset, it's more of that mindset of abundance than a mindset of scarcity. Because that mindset of scarcity, if we're dating out of if we're dating out of need, then we're going to be more prone to clinging on to something like a life raft and holding on to dear life, versus if we're coming from a place of want, if we're coming from a place of abundance, where we're like, what, there's lots of different people out there. I'm going to focus on being choosy, which is the abundance mindset, and not focus so much on being chosen, which is the scarcity mindset. So when you have that abundance mindset, you're okay with, going on a date and realizing, this person's not for me. It doesn't make them necessarily bad or wrong, or maybe it does make them bad or wrong, but you're coming from a place of, I'm okay with letting the ones that are not for me go, instead of trying to cling on to it and make it work. And of course, a lot of this is subconscious because, we're it's it's how our brain, it's just survival mechanisms that our brain has to keep us safe and to make sure that we're getting our needs met. Lots of love to you guys. You are not alone. You are not crazy, and you really can move forward and heal from this.